Yeah, I want to give some advice to people who are listening and maybe even some Democratic politicians who might be watching or listening.
Yeah.
We want the world to work like West Wing. We want to think that a speech that talks about our highest values and a call to principles is what's going to change people's minds. We are a selfish country. If the 2024 presidential election didn't show that, people voted for Donald Trump because they thought that he would get them jobs and help them economically, and then voted to give themselves reproductive rights at the same time, right? It's a very self-interested thing. I lived in Indiana for much of my life. And you know what? It was almost like the biggest sin in the world to drive a foreign car in Indiana. You know when that changed? When a Toyota plant came to Indiana. And you started seeing them all over the place. You started seeing a lot of people start driving hybrids and Toyota Priuses, right? If you want to sell something like the Green New Deal or something that helps climate change, you can't say, hey, we're doing this for the earth. We're doing it to do our part. That's something that speaks of sacrifice. I have to do without for that. You have to go ahead and say, hey, guess what? In Ohio, where we have no hope of winning an electoral vote from now or forever, guess what, Youngstown, Ohio? You are now going to become one of the biggest manufacturers of solar panels or wind turbines. And I guarantee you, you start giving those jobs and you start basing communities around that, you start carrying out projects that give places that don't have any hope or direction, you start giving them those contracts and those jobs and purposes, I guarantee you they're going to become eco-warriors, right? In the same way that, I mean, what do people care about in Iowa? They care about corn being used in fuel, right? Like it's the material conditions that need to be addressed, and that selfishness does need to be put in it. Again, the New Deal showed us that. Civilian Conservation Corps bought off fascists from joining fascist movements. That's the way we need to approach this thing, and the Democrats need to give up on a lot of these lofty speeches in favor of actually answering material conditions.
I knew you'd have a solution. I knew you'd be the right person to ask. We have to finish, but for now, Jared Yates Sexton, thank you for joining The Weekend Show.
My pleasure.
I'm Anthony Davis. Don't forget to support me and independent journalism at patreon.com/5Minute News. You can see more from me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast. And I'll come back next Sunday with a brand